Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Lee Eifler with me here today. Lee's worked in and on businesses of various sizes for the last 20 years. He's scaled businesses from less than $1 million in annual revenues to well over $40 million per year. He is experienced in management information systems development and deployment, as well as creating processes and technology to help firms conquer challenges. Welcome to the show, Lee.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Tim. Great show, by the way. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So why don't you give us a snapshot of your business right now? I love to start that way.
Okay. Well, my main business now is Medical Advancement Centers of Arizona. For short, we call it Makoa Health. We are a dedicated clinical research facility. We help gather data on new therapies for pharmaceutical and device companies so they can bring new and novel therapies to market to improve healthcare in America and the world.
Okay, that's huge, right? It's not only a really big market, but it's an incredibly impactful area to be working in. So thank you for doing that. Is there a lot of competition in that space?
There is. It's pretty competitive. There's a lot of entry barriers. You have to have a lot of doctors, and you have to have the right doctors. You also have to have access to willing participants. But yeah, it's fairly competitive. There's and it's a pretty dedicated space. It's kind of a labor of love for a lot of the people that do it. It's not a lot of the biggest, the biggest clinical research sites tend to be academic medical centers. The right. Cedar Sinai, Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins, UT Austin. Every university is ultimately a large clinical research site, but there's a huge network of there's a large amount of small clinical research sites. There's so many drugs that are constantly, or new therapies that are constantly in development, that it takes a lot of sites from all over the country just to serve the U.S. population, and globally all over the world to make sure we can serve the world population.
Sure. Can you talk a little bit about the genetic and diversity needed that way, but also geographically? Is it good to get people in different climates and different diets and all sorts of things as part of the
No, they're really not going to approve a drug in different locations. They're not going to approve any new therapy in different locations unless it's been tested on a local population.
Okay.
In the U.S., it's definitely nobody wants to be too homogenous in one region, certainly not in one race. Everybody has kind of a different makeup to them, and historically there has been some drugs that were approved that would work for certain races and not for others. Not because it was obviously a racist drug, just because we're made up different. In certain, if you come from a certain, say, region of Mexico, you may have a blocker. You may have a blocker enzyme that just stops the drug from preventing pain receptors from numbing, for example. So that's a big push. That's kind of our focus. Is we work within communities. We love going to the Native American communities, and we work within some Pacific Islander communities, and we work closely with the Arizona Latin American Medical Association. We support them a lot, and in return, they support us. Our main goal here is first of all, we have to deliver clean data to whatever company we're working for, get them participants, but we're really working in the community to hope research can be a benefit, but also when people participate, they're not just benefits. Even if it doesn't benefit themselves, they benefit the future of medicine and the future of the community.
So it's like donating blood. It helps people you don't know.
Yeah, it does. But donating blood is certainly an altruistic thing to do. Sometimes to be a research participant, you have to be a little altruistic. But oftentimes, we like to say, it's the best healthcare you don't have to pay for. Most of the time, there's going to be a placebo arm. So there's always going to be some risk that you're not getting actual medication or you're getting something instead. However, you have to have that to move the science forward. Even in those cases, I've seen in several infectious disease studies we've done, even the participants that did get placebo still got better care because we get to look at their labs. They're managed by a doctor on a very regular basis and all this stuff, and they get the best lab panels you can imagine drawn. Nobody pays more closer attention to them than they do in research. The amount of attention that's spent on a patient at a research visit is about 2 to 3 hours, where if you're at a regular doctor, you get 15 minutes in the office with them, maybe.
Right. Yeah, if you're lucky.
Yeah, and just that level of care to their health it's beneficial for other reasons, if not the reason they're in the trial.
Okay. So we'll circle back to that, but back to the overall business thesis. What sort of sets you apart from competitors in this space?
So we have, for example, we have a tribal liaison that works with some of the communities in the area to help recruit Native American patients, which are a completely underrepresented population in clinical trials. We work with the Arizona Latin American Medical Association to have all of their providers refer patients. We work with, we actually sponsor a young Filipino kid. So that community gives us support back. But the big thing is, we recruit patients and those that are underrepresented in clinical trials.
Okay.
And most people, people equate us to like a doctor's office. It's not. Most times when you go into a doctor's office, you're sitting in a waiting room for a half hour to an hour. At our clinic, when somebody comes in, we have a waiting room. It's never used unless somebody brings a guest with them. We're there meeting them at the door, getting them coffee, snacks, walking them back, giving them everything they need to be comfortable. It's we always say, a trip to our clinic should be almost like it shouldn't feel like a trip to the doctor. It should feel like a trip to the spa. People need to leave.
Yeah, so it seems like some white glove service. Pretty nice.
Yeah. It's what we want. The people that participate in research, they're really heroes. It's because of them that new therapies are developed that are going to help, the next 2-3 generations. That's how advancements are made. We have to have participants to move medicine forward. And without them putting in the time and the effort to participate in clinical trials, we can't develop new therapies. You've seen it in the last few years. The GLP-1s, Ozempic, Mounjaro. I think for the first time in 40 years, the obesity rate in America dropped. It went down instead of going up. They're really making a big difference for people and their metabolic health. I mean, obviously, we can like to focus on diet and getting that in order, but for now, there's a lot of people that need help, and these are really it's really beneficial. And I think we're going to see long-term effects of that in the next 10, 20 years.
Sure. And the speed with which some of those are helping people is important too, right? It's as you said, ideally it'd be nice to start with the education and diet and avoid it in the first place. But anyway, it's the numbers are staggering. How many people are in need of such help? So as you said you guys, your relationships are part of your secret sauce. You provide diversity in these studies and your network's available for.
Yeah, we try to meet patients where they're at. So we also will integrate into local clinics, develop relationships with the doctors, give them an opportunity to participate if they want. And then they're really a benefit because they see the benefit on it. And a lot of our tribals, if you have a 6 out of 7 chance, a 1 in 7 chance of getting placebo, a 6 in 7 chance of getting an excellent already FDA approved medication, their doctors are like, hey, we'll explain to them the risk. Look, 1 in 7 of you are going to get placebo, but you're still going to get all this care you're going to get labs. And chances are, you've got a 80% chance that 90% chance almost that you're going to get the medication. the doctors like that, and they know that it's going to help research future. So there's a likely chance, and even if they're on placebo, they get paid for coming to the visits. So people do like that. I mean, it's not a large amount of money. It's they need to participate for the altruistic purpose of it, you know.
Sure, but it's also it's educational for them, but it's they don't have to pay for the healthcare; they're getting paid for healthcare, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, one interesting thing that I found since I've got into research is that probably as far as patient benefit, the biggest things I have found are that when we have a screening process for patients, and there's people that are really, really sick and they don't know it. We found patients just through blood draws, because before we give them a new medication, we've got to make sure that their health is where it needs to be. We found patients that have hepatitis. We found patients that had HIV and didn't know it.
Right.
And when it's hard to go tell somebody or screen fail them, but that information saves their life and multiple others, especially in the case of like HIV. If somebody doesn't know they have HIV, that's extremely risky scenario to be in, not just for them, but for the community as a whole. So delivering that information not just saved their life, it may have saved multiple.
Right. Similar examples are just other things, reasons people get checked out when they don't expect it, right? They break their arm, they find out, I'm early form cancer. We caught it early. Good thing I broke my arm.
Yeah. I haven't actually picked up anybody that didn't know they had cancer yet. I'm assuming that'll happen. We've done we do some like adolescent vaccine studies. These are mostly like dosing studies where it's compared, like, should we give two vaccines together or should we do it separately because it works better? Right. I'm already FDA approved vaccines, but we did that on an adolescent study, and we were all waiting for it because we have to give pregnancy tests to the girls. And then anytime we have adolescent studies, we have to pregnancy tests all the women. We're waiting to win one, for that 16, 17-year-old who's there with her mom to break the news that the pregnancy.
Congratulations.
It came back positive. Haven't had that happen yet. We're hoping that awkward situation never occurs, but I think it's inevitable at some point.
All right. So for people who are listening or watching and they want to learn more or participate, what advice would you give them, or is there particular sites or contact you want to share?
Yeah, they can certainly reach out to us. They can call us at 623-887-2555. They can also go to our website, which is Makoa-health.com. Click on the info tab. Our number's there as well. We don't have all of our trials updated. We're growing really fast, and we're actually looking to move into a new location. But there'll be a contact on there. They can reach out to somebody. They can go into our database. Currently, we're looking for patients that have diabetes, chronic kidney disease, obesity, any problems with their liver, fatty liver, NASH, MASH problems, Alzheimer's, we do a lot of COPD and asthma as well, respiratory studies. It varies in cycles. Sometimes we do some gastrointestinal stuff for like Crohn's disease or IBS. And the best way is to get on our website, send us an email. If they have diabetes, they can call in now. We have phone screeners usually ready to take their information. But and if not here, they can go to clinicaltrials.gov. They can look for trials in their area and search. It's not that people need to participate at our site. They should just participate. It's really beneficial to medicine as a whole, as well as the community as a whole. People that do that are good citizens in my book.
Yes, for sure. You mentioned that participants are heroes. I'd also like to point out that you and your staff are heroes as well as the people inventing and starting this stuff. It takes a lot of people to move these things forward, and very important stuff.
It's, a lot of the largest organizations are largely not-for-profits, the big academic medical centers. The smaller clinics aren't, but we still put in just as much. But you can't just build a large academic medical center wherever you need to get research patients, participants. So we have to have a network of small clinics that are willing to go to the communities that aren't going to go to the big university hospitals. Right. If you want to get to those underserved populations, you have to meet them at their doctor's office. You have to go to where they are, and then provide a local location for them to participate in research, so that community can just have it be represented in the development of medicines.
Okay. Are you largely based out of Arizona or national? Global?
We're forming a site network right now. We have some, we're largely focused on the borderlands. We have some, call them sister sites in McAllen, Texas, Laredo, Sherman, Texas. We did have a site in Michigan, but that was acquired by somebody else. I'm in Arizona full time, so it was good to step away. And then we do have some other sites in California, Las Vegas, that we work with, a big one in Oklahoma, and we'll market together. Sometimes we'll try and get the same trials, and then we constantly are doing everything we can to improve not just the industry, but the patient experience as well.
Okay, right. Excellent. So what are some of the bigger challenges you've had to overcome in your career in general? It doesn't have to be in Makoa.
Pivoting. I saw, I've gone from industry to industry. My first fairly large company, that I started, I was quite young. It was a taxi company. I brought it to, almost $1 million in sales, only had a short amount of time, sold that. Then I got into, completely switched industries, got into logistics. I did have a logistics and kind of engineering background from college. Then I sold that logistics company. I had got into research prior to selling the logistics company, and I was doing quite a bit of work in research. And then I sold the logistics company. I was full-time in research already before I even sold that company, but I was full-time in research. And then I said, all right, I'm going to start opening up sites here, just because I really wanted to help. Well, then we opened up a site, or I started, and then COVID hit, and COVID was a big challenge. And then it became, to say the least, like kind of around COVID. I have a physician that had a heart transplant and is immunocompromised. So we had to basically shelf him while we were doing COVID studies, because we couldn't bring in, 50 COVID patients that have a immunocompromised physician around them. But then we separated to another site, left that there, and continued to grow. But pivoting within different indications or diagnoses has been tough, working with different doctors, especially because I don't have the science background that an MD does. I have to learn it all as we go, kind of. And when you're going from metabolic disorders to psychological disorders or neurological disorders, it's really tough. Now, we're surrounded by experts. Patients aren't going to come in and be seen by me. They're going to be seen by a specialist, an MD, who's either internal medicine or a neurologist, or we're doing a knee replacement study coming up next fall. Obviously, that's going to be a surgery study with an orthopedic surgeon. But it's pivoting when you need to where the industry goes and where they need patients, and how to get them involved has been my biggest challenge.
Okay. It seems like you embrace it and succeed each time, which is great.
It's fun. I got to the point with the logistics company that I just really didn't like what I was doing. And it's always greener on the other side. No, it wasn't boring. It was just, I don't want to say boring. It became cumbersome, I think is a better
Okay.
term. It became frustrating to me, kind of the way the industry operated and the way a lot of stuff was going. And this, I get to see, on a daily basis, we're making a difference in people's lives, and you get to see that it's exciting, even in a better light. The stuff we've been working on for the last 7 years is a lot of it's coming to market because we get it on the late phase studies, and you see how much help it really is to people firsthand. So it's really interesting. We see a lot of these medications that get approved before a lot of doctors do, because it's not marketed, it's just going through the trials, and then they look at the data that we're part of developing for the FDA, and it's exciting because we're like, oh yeah, this is going to work well. We see it. We're usually blinded, but when you can start picking out, when you can start seeing, okay, there's a clear difference here. Something's working. It gets exciting. And or if it doesn't work, sometimes it's like I don't see a difference here. There's something not working here, maybe. But
right. So what stage trials do you guys participate in? Early, late, all of it?
So I do work with.
There's imagine it's mostly late, but.
It's mostly like phase 2, usually 2B and on, but we'll do phase 2, 3, and 4. Phase 1, there's a couple centers we work with. If there's any sponsors that have phase 1 trials, we'll work with them, but we kind of give it to other organizations that really focus on that. We do have some PIs that have some experience in phase 1 and done it. They did it exclusively for years, but it's just not our forte. We want to be to where we're benefiting patients. Phase 1 is strictly just.
For our listeners, why don't you explain that? It's largely like healthy young males and such, right?
Yeah, mostly it's healthy volunteers, and what they're doing is checking dosing limits and safety. They're checking dosing limits and safety. So what they'll do is say there's a new compound or it's a pill. They'll just keep increasing the dose to find out at what milligram level side effects happen. And that's when they'll pull somebody off the trial. It's actually tough research to do because the patients get paid pretty well, and they do it for the money, but that's the only benefit to them is the money, but they'll lie to you. You got to be careful because they don't know. Once the side effects start happening, you got to pull them off the trial, but they'll lie about the side effects because if they pull them off, they don't get to stay another day and get paid.
Yeah, they want to keep getting paid each day. Oh boy.
And the later phases, like phase 2, 3, 4, at that point, they've probably, by the time it gets to phase 2B, so phase 2 is going to be safety and efficacy. They're going to continue safety. So they found out safety dosing levels, and then they're going to really look at, is it effective on this very small patient population? It might be 100, 200 patients. And then they'll continue to follow safety and efficacy. And then from there, once it's safe and effective, they might do a 2B dosing study to kind of trickle out some doses. By the time any clinical research trial gets to phase 3, they pretty much have a good idea that it's going to be safe and it's going to be effective for whatever patient they're looking to enroll. And that's why now they're just taking out to a larger population to further check efficacy. There's a really strong burden. It's a really hard burden for drugs to get FDA approved. They don't just have to be safe and effective. They have to be, safer and more effective than anything currently in existence, or treat a population that isn't treated by one that's already approved. So there's a lot of medicines that work. They actually work well. They just don't work the best, so they don't get approved. So it's pretty high standard to clear.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. And so on the timelines, how long do some of these, because the U.S. is not the quickest to adopt new technology or pharmaceuticals, but also the trials themselves can take a long time. How long are you often involved with them?
So we have trials that'll go anywhere from, we have trials that have been, that they're one day. For example, we've done device studies for COVID tests. So the patient will come in, it's just a 1-day trial for the patient, but the trial takes several months, and then they gather the data and then get approval. That's a device study. They're usually a little faster. Longer there's longer studies go as long as 5 years, 7 years. A lot of our liver studies, we're following because there's no real treatments for fatty liver.
Okay.
There's very few
Other than diet and exercise.
Right. Well, or fibrosity of the liver. As people are moving towards cirrhosis, the liver will heal itself, but sometimes people get past a certain point where it's not reversible. By reversing, by testing these new medications, but it takes time. So those are usually longer studies, up to 5 years, and that's just the participants portion. It may take 2-3 years to get fully enrolled. To get the number of patients they need to have fully enrolled. So, that could be 8 years in the making.
Wow. Yeah, it's quite an investment in time.
Yeah. So one thing too, a lot of people don't know this. All the research sites. So while we work for the pharmaceutical companies or the device companies, we're all independent from them. There's no incentive for any research site to ever to get a drug approved. People think, oh, you guys are just trying to get drugs approved. No, we're just trying to collect data. And you want good data, they want honest data. They're not trying to get no big company wants to get a bad drug approved because there's too much liability. They want to know as soon as possible if it's bad, and they want to know as soon as possible if it's good. And it's either so they can deliver it or cut it off. But we don't have any connection, affiliation. We're not even allowed to buy investments in the companies we're working for. No.
Okay. You can tell me if there's a good one, right?
No. Nice, but we can't talk about it either. We can't talk about anything specific. Right. Everything's obviously highly confidential, but.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing some of those challenges and being able to pivot as these things, life will do that. As we wrap things up, I'd like to ask a little bit about, you've had success with your different businesses. Sounds like you're growing right now really well. Sounds like things are good. Do you have plans, like exit plans, retirement plans? Do you have sort of different streams of income? Like what's the latest term? The Holy Grail portfolio, right? Where you have, 6 or 7 different uncorrelated asset classes.
I have some real estate.
Real estate, yay.
Yes. I know you like real estate.
Big fan.
I've moved back and forth a couple times, so I've liquidated and rebought real estate a couple times. I have decided I don't think I'm selling any more of my real estate. Every time I sell a house, I have that seller's remorse.
Yep.
So I don't want to sell. I don't want to sell anymore. I may buy some more.
That's a common question when you ask successful people in real estate, what's the biggest mistake you did? And they say, I sold A or B or
Yeah. So, and then I have, the common retirement investments. I do like to, invest money into small businesses. I started, and I'll help operators. So I'll work for private equity companies, and I'll help them build companies that they're looking to acquire. I started a drilling company a couple of years ago. There was a young man that had a plan, came to me, and then it didn't really work out with him, but I still had the drilling company. And then that's actually, we ran that for a couple of years. Did okay, but selling that it was a horizontal drilling technology.
Okay.
So it's all the infrastructure that was supposed to be put in, the rural internet that no one ever actually got connected, but we had a company ready to do it. So yeah, those are my investments. I'm always looking for a piece of new research site or a new industry.
Okay.
Tech, I like tech companies too, and I don't mind startups that are high risk, but it's minimal that I do that. Everything. I'm going to stick with this business for, in this industry probably for several more years, and then hopefully move into more investing in the next 5.
Okay. Yeah. There's real estate is the greatest wealth building vehicle on earth because it's got a very low barrier to entry. So many millionaires have been created because a lot of people can start. But if you look at like the 10 million and up sort of range, it's almost all small business, right? That's where that next level stuff comes from. So private equity and so forth. very exciting stuff. Often, as you said, more risk, but also more return. So very interesting stuff. Thank you. I'd like to re-ask if people would like to connect with you or learn more. What should they do? How should they reach out?
They can go to our website, Makoa-health.com. That's about to be revamped, so if it's down at any point, we're working through it. They can email info@Makoa, Macoa-health.com, or they can just call us and have a conversation. I'll probably be the one that answers the phone. Likely it's 623-887-2555. We are in Tempe. We're at the corner of 48th and Baseline. Small office. We're expanding to a new office soon. It'll be within a 5-mile range of here. But people are welcome to come by. Something I should have mentioned with the liver studies, we offer free fibro scans to people. Now, signs that you might not have a healthy liver is like recent weight gain. If you have diabetes, if you have chronic kidney disease, if you have any metabolic issues, you should get your liver checked. You're welcome to call us. We do fibro scans to check the liver health for free. You can talk to your doctor. If you've had labs drawn and your liver enzymes, which is AST and ALT, are above normal, you can call us. We'll do a free liver scan. Arizona Liver Health does those as well. They're competitor, but a colleague of ours. I think Dr. Al-Khoury is the chief medical officer there. They do free liver scans all over the state of Arizona, and they're top-notch. They're a top-notch institution as well, and they do clinical research like us as well. But now we'd love people to come here, and if they want to schedule a fibro scan, it's they have to come fasting, but we can do it for them, no charge, no copay, no insurance taken.
Wow, excellent.
So, yeah.
Another great resource from you guys. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Well, thank you everybody for listening and watching. Again, thank you very much, Lee Eifler, for joining me today. A lot of great stuff. We appreciate you sharing your business histories and some of the great work you're doing right now with clinical trials.
Thanks for having me on, and great job with your podcast. I wish you all the success in it in the future. I'll stay tuned.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Inspired by our guests? Visit PhoenixProsperityPodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.